Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Doctors Are In. Oh boy, I'm so glad that we're here tonight. There's three of us here. You may only hear one voice, but there are three bodies. And Dr. Brown is with us on audio phone, and so we're going to move forward. This program is designed to challenge your thought life. It's not designed to change how you believe, but it's designed to provoke you to thought so you can re-examine what you believe, so you can draw your own conclusion. It's academic, so this is not church. And there might be some things that we may talk about that are kind of edgy. But let me tell you, until the cage is rattled, you never get free. And so that's one of the things that we want to bring out there. This is a forum by which we are discussing things that have been problematic, especially for those of the African diaspora. But we're here tonight to talk about things that are pertinent to our belief system. Where in the world do we get all the stuff that we believe in? And a lot of things we just take for granted. And so we're going to hear from Dr. Brown as he brings his perspective on some of the things we're going to discuss tonight, from Bishop Hyman as she brings some things to bear about what we need to do about some of this stuff. And yours truly, we're here to shape, fashion, and form a paradigm by which you can make your own choices. So anyway, that's my opening remarks. Dr. Brown, would you say hello by audio to everybody?
Oh, hello to everyone. And this is a great day that the Lord has made. There's many ways people said, be blessed, and let's do the best we can in the blessing. I'm just throwing that out there. As you know, it's what part of on the globe we are. At my time, it's around 9:16. Now over there where you are, somewhere like six, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit after 6. Yeah.
Okay, so that's how it works, and of course, you all got live vision, and I just enjoy being invisible.
Okay, Mr. Invisible Doctor.
We don't like invisibility, Dr. Brown.
The invisible doctor.
These people want to see you.
Okay.
Yeah, well, people, but then they become delusional when they see.
No.
Oh, Jesus.
No, he didn't.
Don't get me started, you all.
No,
You don't want to go there.
Yes, I do.
Yes, we do. We want you to go all the way there. Don't pump the brakes. Don't pump the brakes.
One of my survivals in the movement while I was in SNCC in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, 62, 63, 64, 65, and 66 was now you see me, now you don't. That's why I didn't go to jail all the time, like my road partner John Lewis.
All right.
John Lewis went to jail 37 times. I said, John, not me. And not only that, I wouldn't get on the Freedom bus. And I said, John, I'll be in the other city waiting for you all to get there. If you get on the bus, I'll drive the car.
All right. Well, all right, Bishop.
Yes, sir.
Welcome. Could you give us some opening remarks while we navigate technology, but at least we're truth slayers. We're truth slayers. Slingers. Truth slingers, slayers, whatever. We're putting it out there.
All right. We're putting our hellos up so we can see who we got tonight signing on. It's a little slow, very slow tonight. It could be because we were slow getting on here. We be trying to get Dr. Brown in. Praise the Lord. And saints of God. Saints of God, when you get these 80-somethings, they don't be trying to hear all of this.
I agree. You're dead on it, Keith. You're so right.
Yeah, they don't be trying to hear all this. They be over it, and we be trying to walk them through it, and they don't even know what we talking about. We don't know what we talking about. Jesus be our IT manager. So we were trying a few things. We almost got it. We may have it next time, where you can actually see Dr. Brown. Um, y'all just mail Dr. Brown a new computer, okay? All right, but welcome to May, and welcome to the Doctors Are In. And again, we are grateful for. He don't like us call him the patriarch, uh, because of all of the Western connotations to it. Uh, but he is our
You're so
senior.
right.
God know he is our senior and our elder. Dr. Brown, are you 81 or you 81 or 80?
Oh, no, 82, going on 83. I'll be 83 August the 12th.
Oh Lord, we don't. Oh, you're right. My mother is 86. Will be 87 August the 11th. So I'll probably
Oh,
remember.
now that's a good. Oh, she's a good sister there. Oh Lord,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Yes, indeed. So we have an almost 83-year-old with us. And so we are grateful for, in the spirit of our blackness. We are grateful for our elder being among us. Uh, Whether we can get through this technology or not. Computer might be old as him. I'm not sure.
Oh
Uh,
no.
I can't, it's no point in me even trying with my mother. It's just forget it. She not here. She not even on the computer now. She,
Your mother's wise.
yeah, she said I'm not even on the computer now. So, all right. Yeah, we were a little late trying to get through this technology, PJ. So you're fine. And so thanking God. But again, I want to do this because I'm on a quest to return the honor to our elders and to give them their place, so that we can get the wisdom out of them, because they got a little more mileage on this planet than we do. And they've seen some things that we haven't, because by the time we got here, they had already been here. And so, whenever we have Dr. Brown, we are extremely grateful just for him. We're really honored. That's the truth. And we miss you terrible when you're not here. You can believe that. And the people love you. They be like, "Where Dr. Brown at? Where is Dr. Brown? You don't want Dr. Brown on no thing. Turn the camera on. Where's Dr. Brown?" uh, and so we're so glad to have him tonight. And of course, our old faithful Dr. Stephen Gardner. So May, new month. And so we promised you, as we entered into the new month, we would begin. See that? Yes, we love him. See that?
Yep.
See
Yes,
that,
we
Dad?
love him.
Amen. See? That's my son. That's one of our Jewish brothers. He's a young people, um, saying, that they love you. So we promised a new series, although it is connected to what we just did last week and the week before, clever lies and deadly deceptions.
Clever lies and deadly deceptions.
Clever lies and deadly deceptions. All right. And so we're still going to be in the same vein that, oh, thank you, Reginald. Reginald said, thank all of you. We're still going to be in the same vein that we were in. We're going to talk about some practices. See, they saying, we do miss you, Dr. Brown. They talking to you. They talking to you. Say, we
Lord.
do miss you. Yeah, see, I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not making this stuff up. Um, so in our time, we don't know what we're going to uncover because the lies are clever.
Ah,
Clever lies and deadly deception. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to look at some of our practices. But one of the things, and I'm sure Dr. Brown will be glad to chime in on this, one of the things that we want to talk about as we talk about deadly deceptions and clever lies, we want to talk about right up the front, um, the effect of indoctrination on the psyche, the effect of indoctrination on the collective psyche, indoctrination on the people. There's a reason why Constantine adopted Christianity as the in the 300s, Christianity as the official religion of the empire. He was allegedly a convert, a heathen pagan, was allegedly a convert, although evidence suggests he never did. He did that so that they could take Christianity, which was already a part of Rome. Let's be clear. Already a part of Rome. As much as we want to talk about, well, it was in North Africa first, it was in Ethiopia first, it was Rome that killed Yeshua. It was Rome that ran the movement uh, out of Jerusalem and dispersed it with the tearing down of the temple in AD 70. So from jump, it's been Rome. From jump, it's been Rome. We were able to prove in a previous episode, as they say on TV, about how the Nicene Council took even the Jewish or the Israelite holidays, the feast days, and stole them and changed the date on the calendar. Took it from a lunar calendar to a solar calendar so that no one would know that they had actually stolen it from these melanated people, from these African and Afro-Asiatic people. And we showed you the quote where that particular church leader said, move Passover to over here because we don't want it associated with those low life Jewish people. Move it here, and we're going to call it Easter.
Mm-hmm.
So we are aware that these councils meeting, you can't have a council if you ain't got a church. You can't have a council if you don't already have leaders.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to meet on unless you already practice it. All right. So uh they took this for some reason. And just do your history. They have plundered and pillaged uh people of color everywhere, nations everywhere, in the name of religion. And they did it through indoctrination. All right. They indoctrinated those people, particularly those even around Rome, even around Jerusalem before they even busted that up. They indoctrinated those people, particularly who could not read. Even with the early beginnings of the formulation of the one holy Catholic Church, those people could not read. They did not have text. And so only the high ups could read to them. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. And that is indoctrinating them, and also addicting them to what we call propaganda. So we wanted to get that out. I really want to hear from Dr. Brown. I listened to someone today who is Muslim, but he is he's white, but he is really really well versed on American history, and Christianity and Islam and all of that. And he suggested that indoctrination is a form of propaganda, and that Americans are addicted to propaganda.
Mm.
And when you have an addiction to anything, this is why the media controls everything and the church controls everything. The educational system is not to black people, for black people, Hispanic people, any of those people. It is their system. They choose subjects. They choose what is acceptable, what you can teach and what you can't teach. And if you don't teach this, we won't accredit you. And if we don't accredit you, you won't get any money. It's all in the system. And they use education and propaganda. And this guy says that Americans, especially, are addicted to Western propaganda. to the extent that you can't think critically, you can't think of any other possibilities outside of the box, you won't explore, because he said even when we are intellectual and intelligent, the propaganda sends us almost into a pessimism, because we say this is just the way America is. It ain't gonna ever change. Well, this is what it was founded on. It ain't gonna ever change. There's a pessimism there. And he says for those who are, he calls them idiots. I don't like that. But who they are at bliss by the propaganda. They America is the greatest thing to slice bread. Make America great again, white again. They are encouraged. So either way, it's a sickness. And so we want to begin to look at some of this propaganda, and some of these apostles said clever lies. Clever. So this stuff is done not because somebody doesn't know what they're talking about, or because they're ignorant, or because they're unexposed, they didn't learn. No, this was crafted. And so what we have been taught, a lot of it was crafted by the Roman and the Greco-Roman Empire. And we have been being indoctrinated now for almost 2,000 years. Dr. Brown.
You just told the whole truth. Now, and with my background, with the people that I interact with, I got to do a seminar next week. Oh, this coming Sunday, next Sunday, I should say, is Malcolm X's birthday. And he would say it in simple words. We drank the Kool-Aid. We've been what? What's the word? His famous words?
Bamboozle.
We've been
Bamboozle.
Yeah. But you described very well coming out of, and I feel good because I have a very good working relationship with my Islamic sisters and my brothers.
Me too.
Because I study with them under the Sufi mysticism. And then you got that tough brother Steve introduced me to about 3 years ago, is Dr. Klotz.
Mm-hmm. Neil Douglas Klotz, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I got to reading his, and I said, have you all ever read things and it's like an awakening, an enlightenment? Like,
yes.
I knew that. I just didn't know that I knew that.
Wow.
Have you ever experienced that, Bishop Hyman?
Yes.
And Doctor, you read information, you hear information, and you don't jump up and say back to them, I knew that. But what you're saying to yourself internally, you're saying to yourself, guess what? I knew that. Mm-hmm. I've heard that. I've experienced that. Mm-hmm. But it goes back to a series that while I was teaching, and that was, you was getting born then, in the 80s and the 90s, one student asked me, which made me go and look again. He said, why did the Lord, he was speaking of Jesus, say often about the kingdom? He always said, the kingdom is within you. And that student said, how do I go at going within myself to find the kingdom? Because that's what he always said. You got to go within. The kingdom is within you. And he said, how do I do that? Well, then that put me on my own kind of experiences of looking at the answer to that question, not from all of the intellectual historicity, because it seems that in what you just described very well in regard to Constantine and that whole movement, they wanted to make sure you looked at everything materialistic and not see things spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's the dynamic we're in now. What's our greatest challenges now is the fact that now we're dealing with bitcoins, we're dealing with capitalistic materialism, we're dealing with tariffs. Where is our energy to guiding and directing individuals to start looking at their own spirituality? Now, you mentioned very clearly a lot of that early history comes out of Africa. But the colonizers did a great job and in messing with all of the things that were materialistic in the sense of we'll come in and we'll bring you a concept of God from a materialistic point of view while you've been working with God from a spiritual point of view. Now, I'm going to throw this out real quick and then I'm going to shut up. I'd like for all of our listeners to go, and some of them probably have, and go see this movie called The Sinners.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow, that movie. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That movie. Okay. All right.
Let's do Dr. Gardner, could you grab two things for us?
Sure.
Grab us a definition of clever
Okay.
and grab us a definition of propaganda.
All right. Okay. Let me get that real quick. So here we go.
Because much of what we have is religious propaganda. I remember in the early 2000s, Dr. Brown, when I was pastoring, I was doing a series in my ignorance, teaching my people how to defend their faith with Sunni Muslims, with Jehovah Witness, with Scientologists, Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. Um, um, I was teaching them how to defend their faith. And really what I was teaching them was really how to defend their whiteness.
Oh, no.
And when I got to Muslims, I asked anybody in my church, I said, does anybody have a connection with Muslims from the Nation of Islam? And so somebody raised their hand. And I said, contact them. I would like them to come in and help me teach, because I'm just basically pulling information off the web. I'm pulling information out of books and stuff like that. And I said, something is telling me it is propaganda. I didn't even know what propaganda was. Something telling me it's propaganda. And at least if they're there, if I'm teaching something that is not quite really what they believe and ascribe to, they can give us some insight. They showed up, three of them, with their bow ties on, and I was at the church early by myself, Dr. Brown. They scared me. They scared. I said, yes, I'm looking through the people at the church. I'm at the office by myself. We're looking for Bishop Hyman. I said, oh, you Bishop? I guess they were looking for a man. And they said, we're here to teach tonight. I said, no, that's not what I said. So he was a state minister for the Nation of Islam, Minister Tracy Muhammad. And so he had his gentleman go in the sanctuary, and he and I went in the office, and we talked for about 45 minutes. Here's what he said to me. He said, Bishop Hyman, I've never heard a Christian talk like this. He said, now either I'm a Christian or you're a Muslim, because we got the same tongue. And all we were talking about is the oppression and the liberation of our people, and how there is religious propaganda to keep us separated from our Muslim brothers and sisters, and to keep them separated from me. And the more we talked, the more we found out we had in common about kingdom principles, about liberation, about what has happened to my people, and about how we're going to have to heal ourselves. Same conversation, because the prophetic is the prophetic in any language, any religion. It supersedes and transcends all of that. It comes out of a realm of truth, not out of a realm of dogma and doctrine. And that's the religious propaganda kept us separated, even though all of y'all say you came out of Abraham. Boom. Tell us what propaganda is, or whichever one you got first.
Here is the definition of a clever lie. A clever lie is a deceptive statement presented in a way that makes it believable or difficult to detect as a lie.
Do it again.
A clever lie is a deceptive statement presented in a way that makes it believable or difficult to detect as a lie. It's a lie that is skillfully constructed, often using subtle tactics or manipulation to persuade the listener. While deception itself is a negative, the term clever can imply a degree of ingenuity or artistry in lie telling.
Artistry, ingenuity, and the West is superior at it. And they are so superior at it until they made themselves superior. Hence, you have white supremacy. Christian nationalism is not new. Christian nationalism is the Christianity of Rome in the 2nd and the 3rd century, all the way to today.
Now
To
get a
y'all
hold of
falling at the feet of the
falling at the
dead
feet.
Pope.
Oh, hold up. Stay on task here, Gary. Hey, here are some key elements, Bishop and Dr. Brown, of a clever lie. First of all, let's talk about the deceptive nature. The core of a lie remains the deliberate misrepresentation of the truth. The core of a lie, deliberate misrepresentation of the truth. All right.
So in other words, a person can say something, and what they say is really not a lie. They can form it, so it's really not a lie.
Right.
But if the intent, the core of the motive, the intent was to deceive, whether you told a lie or not, it is still a lie if the intent of the motive was to deceive.
Okay,
Talk,
that's
sir.
true. All right. Let's look at the clever lie in the context of ingenuity and skill. A clever lie is not simply a careless fabrication, it's crafted with some level of thought and strategy. Okay.
Mm, mm, mm.
A clever lie, here's another when we talk about persuasion and manipulation. Clever lies often aim to subtly influence the listener's perception or belief. All right. Let's look at it in the context of ambiguity and half truths. Clever lies may use ambiguous language, half truths, or misleading statements to create a sense of plausibility. And then here is some social cues and body language. A clever liar might employ subtle body language or tone of voice to make their statement more believable. So those are the key elements of a clever lie.
Can I add one little point in here?
Yeah.
Because I'm just good thing I can't be seen because I'm just smiling. But the real thing is, you all have described what really a lie is. It's all about hiding the truth.
Right. Okay.
Hide the truth to manipulate, and then talking about propaganda, and that whole thing is a methodology, y'all, to control
Absolutely.
you and to dominate you and to keep you ignorant even of your own self.
Yes, sir.
All right.
To keep you ignorant of your own self. Or let me go plural. To keep us ignorant of our own selves.
Okay.
So you can steal our spirituality. You can steal our oral traditions. You can steal the way that we practice our genius and our godness. You steal it, you erase it, you replace it, and then you start working on that psyche over and over till you have us believing that the truth started with you and that we need to be taught by you when we are the ones who taught you.
Now, one thing is interesting, Bishop, Dr. Hyman, and Dr. Gardner, is take a deep dive in regard to the history. One of the most successful things that the oppressor did was when they brought slaves over here. What did they not allow us to do that was so essential to our consciousness of ourself and our culture? Was not to use our language.
Not to use our language.
And we had to embrace. We had to embrace the oppressor's language, which in of itself we embraced it, and we had to. I'm trying to use the right words. We had to manipulate it in order to exist within their situation. My mother, we have great conversations, and my mother was a black African slave. She had lived in slavery, but her doggone father was an Irish ship captain.
Okay.
And her mother was his wench. He had 3 girls, and they all come out looking white, no question about it. And they came out looking white, but he made sure they were taken care of. But they were down there in Wilcox County, and he had another boy, and they killed the boy. The slave people did. I mean, not slave people. The oppressors did it. But my mother would talk out of 2 different dimensions because she knew a little Irish, but she never knew her African language. So she was reared in Chicago, and she was able to manipulate the system with a language. Now, me and you don't know our African language, but we know as we're talking and discussing, we're using the oppressor's language to even define ourselves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Ha!
And define our faith.
Oh, no. Look.
Oh, yes.
Look.
Ooh, that was loaded.
And see, that just ties right in to what is religious propaganda.
Come on.
Religious propaganda refers to the systematic dissemination of religious information, ideas, or beliefs, often with the goal of persuading or influencing an audience to adopt a particular religious perspective or behavior.
My Lord.
Well, you're nice with the words. It just wants to dominate you, control you, and empower themselves to keep you oppressed.
Absolutely. Bottom line.
I mean, we can use all of those other words. It's to control you and oppress you, dominate you. Back to what's our boy who was Theron was talking about domination.
Okay. Yeah, Theron Williams.
It's interesting to listen to some of the stuff about you come to this church and you'll be accepted by Christ. I say to them, such and such, you've already been accepted by Christ. You just got to understand your relationship to the Christ that's within you. You don't come there to be accepted by Christ. You are already accepted by Christ. Learn how to accept your acceptance.
Okay.
How do we learn how to accept our spirituality, our divine space and place that's within us?
Okay.
We're made in the image, not white folks' images.
Okay. Here's
that's
the.
my 1 cent.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Oh no, we're gonna get you started. We're gonna push you all the way out there. We're gonna push you all the way out there. We'll bring you back. We'll bring you back when we're ready. We're gonna push you out there. But here's something else to add to that, Dr. Brown and Bishop. That religious propaganda, it can be used to promote religious doctrines. recruit new followers, and even incite hatred or persecution based on religious differences.
Yep. Yep. We're right at each other's throats all the time over indoctrination or doctrine and dogma that ain't even ours.
Okay. So, so this is, I mean, these clever lies have been, if they've been part of your narrative and part of your understanding and being reinforced over and over and over again, you wind up believing that the lies are truth.
That's the
And if
whole
I believe the
purpose.
lies are true, then when the truth comes forth, I'm going to fight against it. I'm going to kick against it. I'm not going to accept. No, that can't be right. Because I've been taught, I've been told. This is how I was shaped. This is how my mind was shaped to believe.
But guess what, Dr. Gardner? And you're moving in the correct energy. But guess what the main thing of that energy is? Propaganda creates fears that you never can imagine. We will fear the truth because the propaganda has got us to learn how to love not ourselves,
but to love the propaganda.
Give us an idea of love, but we never realize the real word of love, which is called the unconditional love of our spirituality.
Okay.
So
let's do this.
Okay.
Let's do this. Because we want to look at, because we started off with this. This is clever. And it is deceptive. And we said deadly. When you believe, or as Dr. Brown said, when you have been, I'm gonna say, trained and conditioned, and it's in everything. It's in the education, it's in the laws, it's in the media, it's in the books, it's in the Bible, it's in the pulpit, it's in the Torah, it's in the whatever you read, the Ethiopian Bible, the Catholic, but don't make no difference. The propaganda is there, and we are able to, with scholarship, even go and look at things that are in Greek that were copied. And then we find copies that were later copies in the 1200s, 1300s, 1600s, where they added stuff to the copy to put the propaganda in the text, and then use propaganda to tell you that God wrote the text and it is authorized, and the God of a whole entire multiverse can't speak outside of 66 books that white folks put in our hand. Okay? So we said that this was deadly. So let's look at it. Because when you're separated from yourself, and you're separated from how God made you, and you're separated from your own spirituality, you really are the walking dead, but you think you're alive because you believe the propaganda is the only way for you to be alive. Okay? He said, oh, no. Now listen.
Walking dead.
The walking dead. All right? Propaganda, what are some of the negative effects? Propaganda obstructs, listen carefully, I said this coming in, but propaganda obstructs critical thinking by spiritually bypassing rational analysis and directly manipulating emotion, your identity, and your perception. It alters your perception. It causes you to bypass rational analysis and critical thinking. It operates not by inviting people to reflect, but by conditioning them to react. Okay? How so? It plays on the emotions instead of reason. Dr. Brown tells us all the time that we have been conditioned to fear love, and we love to fear. Fear is used in this country as a tool of oppression and capitalization. It is an economic tool. They use fear to sell. They do it all the time. Use fear to sell. All right. So it's going to play on your emotions. Once the emotions are triggered, all right, Apostle Jackson, once that amygdala is triggered, rational judgment is often suspended and people become more susceptible to persuasion without scrutiny. Number two, it oversimplifies complex issues. And we're going to go into that when we look at this pleading the blood. It oversimplifies complex issues. Critical thinking thrives on nuance, but propaganda reduces reality to black and white binaries. So
Wow.
no gray
No,
areas.
no in
All
between.
right. And
Wow.
and one of the key features of Eurocentrism is that they think in black and white. Everything is polar. They think in dichotomies. Dichotomies. It's either or, heaven or hell, black or white. Okay. And so what this does, the propaganda oversimplifies complex issues, making you choose black and white, good and evil, light and darkness, right and wrong, leaving little room for thoughtful inquiry or moral complexity. Number three, can I go?
Go right
All
ahead.
right. Number three, Number three, it repeats messages until he just said it, until they seem like the truth. Every Easter, we're going to tell the same story.
Oh,
Every
go.
Easter, every Communion Sunday, we're going to tell the same story. Every time we get up to preach, we are finding new ways to preach the same thing with another twist on it. The same thing. Black people been preaching the same thing ever since they told us what we had to preach. All right? Repetition. So then when the message is echoed across media, institutions, social network, it becomes difficult to listen, to distinguish or
Bless you.
discern fact from fiction, truth from error. Here we go. I'm just gonna give us two more. I'm just gonna give us two more.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Lord
ahead.
Jesus, Lord, my son said he on the floor. He said I can't tonight.
He said on the floor.
Listen, I'm just gonna do a couple of more because I can keep going. I'm just not. It weaponizes
Oh,
identity. It weaponizes identity. Propaganda ties beliefs to group belonging. So white nationalism is the result of religious propaganda that came from Rome in the second and third and fourth centuries all the way to today. This is why we had all of the hoopla behind every pope that dies. Our folk die, you hear a little bit, we grieve, and that's it. But this ties beliefs to group belonging. Once an idea becomes fused with personal or group identity, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Jew, I'm a Jew, I'm a Jew, Jew, Jew. Once that becomes tied with that, challenging it feels like a betrayal to the group to which you identify. This makes the individual less likely to question any message, any method, even in the face of pure evidence.
oh,
Here,
did you say what? What?
even in the face of pure evidence. So it doesn't make any difference that somebody got 30 some convictions in the face of pure evidence. Don't matter, call them S-holes. Whatever you do to women and telling Jasmine Crockett is got a low IQ. All of that stuff in the face of evidence is looking us in the face. We will still go with the identity of the group because we don't want to seem like we are a betrayer of the group. So those who are part of that group. Now we over here, we don't believe none of that. We over here. Now we fight fighting like dogs, are trying to defend the group to which we belong, and the group ain't thinking about us. All right. So by labeling, now this is by labeling dissenters as enemies.
Oh
Listen.
no. Oh no.
By labeling the dissenters as enemies, conspirators,
Oh
everything is
no.
a conspirator theory, heretics, by labeling them that, it discourages open dialogue and debate.
Mm, mm, mm.
Number 6, it floods the mind with distraction. In the age of information overload, stimulation overload, data overload, propaganda overwhelms with noise, making it harder to distinguish truth from lies or to even care. Okay? Exhaustion, mental exhaustion. We are there with data overload, cognitive overload, intellectual overload, psychological overload, emotional overload. They keep coming and coming and coming and coming. CNN all day, MSNBC all day, Christian Network all day, all day. Boom, boom, boom. Cookies taking all your information, advertisements all day, all day. It is to exhaust us, and exhaustion becomes a form of physical and psychological and spiritual control. Last one that I'm going to do today. Uh, uh, it manipulates symbols and language. Now remember, the great doctor just said we ain't got no language, but the oppressor's language, and all we got even for our religious belief is the oppressor's language for the belief. That's it. So it manipulates symbols and language. Propaganda uses sacred symbols like flags, like crosses, like scriptures, like miters, like croziers. As old folks say, I ain't got no help here. It
Like
uses
collars.
religious symbols, white collars, black suits. It uses religious symbols, Eucharistic cups and chalices, and white. Even the daggone wafer is white. Come on here,
White
huh?
gloves. White
Yes, sir.
gloves.
Yes, sir. Even the wafer that y'all take communion is white. That ain't unleavened bread. Lord have mercy. And so it uses symbols, and those symbols become iconic. It is now seared in the conscious, seared in the brain. Symbol white Jesus. Symbol all over every culture, every country. White Jesus, white Mary, white angels, white apostles, white. Symbols that sear that into the conscious. Listen, and so these flags, Confederate flags, statues, you got to be a little bit sick to build statues that look like you, call them divine, and make yourself shrines that you worship in every Sunday with your statues and your stained glass windows and your crosses every Sunday, looking at your own image. That's got to be a little pathological. But you use that to see that image of superiority and supremacy in other people who don't look like that, or in another gender who don't look like that. Now listen. So when it does that, it floods us and it loads these icons. And the icons are loaded with language. For instance, if I say McDonald's, you see golden arches in your mind. Them
Right?
golden arches give you a whole message. It's words attached to them. That's McDonald's. I'm going to get the cheering, a kiddie meal. All of that is attached to arches. The babies know at 2 and 3, McDonald's. They see them arches. They can say words attached to the images. And so what religious propaganda does, it uses these sacred symbols and loaded language to trigger unconscious associations. When language is distorted, Dr. Brown, thought itself is compromised. So our doctrine, as Dr. Gardner has told us, our doctrine is part of religious propaganda, and we've got generation after generation after generation until we are addicted to it and we are afraid to question anything because we are connected to the group. All of this has been manipulated and controlled, and it came out of Rome to the republic for which we stand. One nation, indivisible. We ain't part of that. With liberty, we ain't part of that. And justice for all, we ain't part of that.
You are watching The Doctors Are In. All of this started with the statement that Dr. Brown brought out about the one thing that occurred when they brought us over here that we could not practice was to speak in our own language.
We also could not practice our spirituality either.
We couldn't practice our spirituality. We couldn't speak in our own language. So therefore, the only language and practices that we were coerced and sometimes beat to adopt was one and the narrative that the oppressor passed on to us. If language, Dr. Brown, is the key to our identity, then you can understand why we're so passionate about Sankofa, going back to get what we had before we got here where we are, so we can understand what's in the rubble. And I'm telling you tonight, what's in the rubble is our own people. Our ancestors are in the rubble. Our ideas are in the rubble. And our liberation and our emancipation is in the rubble. We've got to go back to recover that which we have lost. Or, borrowing the words of Jesus, when Jesus said this, and you've said this many times, Jesus said, I come to do one thing, to go back and to save that which is lost. Well, that's just not people, but sometimes that which is lost is our identity and everything that was associated with our identity. And the identity we had before we got here, the identity we had before we came to the earth, God gave to us. And then slavery was was an anti-Christian movement. It was the Antichrist.
My.
And any fool that sit up here and say that God used slavery to bring salvation to Negroes, they are the fool that I just said that they are, because it wasn't.
That's it.
We were born on that continent, and our ancestors was born there, and we had God, and God was on the inside of us, and we were on the inside of God. And we come over here, and our language is taken. So therefore, guess what happens? Our religion was taken, our spirituality was taken, and we was given not a reasonable facsimile, we were given a lie. And we've adopted that lie, and that's been the controlling narrative for over 400 years since we've been here. And now the lie is unraveling. And our responsibility here is to peel back the layers of the onion so that your own eyes can see for once how we've been duped and bamboozled, and be able to see our way to our own true spirituality, to our own liberation. That, watch this, we find in the historical Jesus.
Yes, sir.
In the historical Jesus. Not just the Christ of faith, not the Christ of faith, because Christ of faith is all Romanized anyway. And just as an exercise, and we've done this before, go to Google right now and put in images of Jesus, and tell me, what do you see? I'm not going to give you any hint. Just put in God.
Yeah, put God. Don't even put Jesus in.
Just put God.
Google. You take my stuff. I'm gonna get you. Just put in God. Just put in God. Because now God is spirit. So when you put in God, you ought to see all of nature and all black people and white people and brown people and yellow people. If you don't get any image at all. It should be nature. Or if you put in God, since God is spirit, you ought to get nothing. Put in God and see what you get. And let us know.
Let us
God.
know and put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. We're going to keep going, but put it in the chat. Put in God and put it in the chat what you see.
All right.
So, Dr.
Listen.
Brown, you there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay.
Let's go on to this imagery and this iconery about the blood. Isn't it interesting that the core and the crux of our faith is based on killing,
Oh, wow.
is based on redemption by killing what is innocent, whether it's bulls, goats, or heifers. Redemption. Now, all of this stuff came right out of Africa, and they took it, and they took it, and did all of this and say God said it, twisted it and said God said it. But isn't it interesting that the crux of what we call our faith is based on death and killing of that which is innocent? So you have a bloodthirsty God whose rage can only be satisfied by killing what is innocent, whose anger against sin, I know I'm messing up, I'm just getting you to think, or not, can only be satisfied by the violent act of piercing and cutting and draining the blood out of something.
Oh, Jesus.
Now, when they do that stuff, they did that stuff in Africa. And they did it in voodoo, which y'all call voodoo, which you don't know the difference between voodoo or voodoo and hoodoo. Don't know the difference. All right? All that propaganda. When you saw those kind of things, it was paganistic. Yet you sit there and you read this stuff in Leviticus and you read this stuff in the Torah of a bloodthirsty God that says the only way I can forgive you is if you kill what I created and give the blood back to me.
Ooh, Lord.
So again, every Easter, and I found this out this Easter. Every Easter we go back to Calvary, reenact it, we dance it, we do all of this. And what I found out this time through, and Greg said, what is happening in here? They would they would go, just the dancers were exceptional. And the people were crying because of Calvary. And then the man of God preached like crazy and it was dead, couldn't even resurrect it. And I said, God, what is this? I'm disengaged. I'm about to go to sleep. My mama was like this. She always pushing her pastor. Even if she may be having a Sunday, She pushed the man of God. I said, what is this? And the Lord began to speak to me. You have triggered and oppress people with violence. And we did it on Easter Sunday night. And everybody started typing. I don't really like it. Like Easter, because my nephew was killed and the blood was never vindicated. My son was murdered. My mother was murdered. My so-and-so was hung. My brother got gunned down on Good Friday. So we bring
Oh, wow.
all of this gore, and even in our DNA is generations of trauma, of lynchings and rapes and murders. It is imprinted in the DNA. And every first Sunday and every Easter, we go back and we trigger those responses, and we're crying and we're bypassing the grief because we're bypassing it with spirituality because we say he did it for me. And nobody wants to think.
Wow. Dr. Brown, speak to that. Speak to the trauma that we've associated with Calvary and how that affects the consciousness of Black people.
Hey, the bishop laid it out in regard to our state of consciousness. And when she was talking about killing is almost And it's almost a behavior and experience of religion. She's hitting something that's really got to make everybody begin to understand what we wrestle with, and what I'm listening to is this whole idea of duality. She was hitting it dark, white, light, darkness, all of these things. And when she started talking about this thing in regard to killing and regard to being able to celebrate that he died so I could live, he suffered so I could live, and then we are practicing the same suffering and the same applications of that on each other, we've got to sit down, or what I'm just saying it this way, we got to reflect on our own stupidity. Well, I'm looking at it in another dimension, because my consciousness takes me into another dimension of consciousness that removes me from any thought of materialism and my five senses that causes me to even think evil. So I work at seeking my identity with the I am that I am, which is that we're all in the image of God, and we've got to get back to the image, because the God I serve does not kill.
Oh, no.
And the God, not just the God I serve, but the God I know does not kill.
You know,
and those who of us have died, as she was describing those testimonies, those persons have got to come back. There is a karma, there is a coming back and being reincarnated until you get into the right relationship with the image of God. That's a whole nother dimension of dialogue at the spiritual level. And when I speak of the spiritual level, I take it outside of concepts, outside of languages, and move it into the divine language of my Creator. And that's good. Y'all tell people, go pull up and see what they say God is.
Well,
and every time you pull it up, you're going to see they put God in a box.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, as Bishop was talking there, and the one thing that we're doing every Easter, and it didn't dawn on me until she just said it, that we're reenacting generational trauma.
Absolutely. Because we're reenacting murder, assassination of an innocent person.
Persecution. Put it all in there, all in words.
Well, persecution. I mean, you know, it's almost, if we really look at it, it's basically God killed his own son. I mean, I've heard people say that God he assassinated his son. And so, I mean,
I guess he must have used white hands to do it.
Well, I mean, it's just the idea is that there's something wrong with our theological understanding of what happened. And we just, well, the thing to do is we're going to do the 7 last words. We're going to do everything. Or watch this, Dr. Brown.
Same mess hashed over.
We ain't going to close out the sermon until you do what? Come on, Dr. Brown. Tell us what we're going to do. Your sermon is not a sermon until you're done what?
Where you trying to go?
Well, yeah, you know exactly where I'm going. I'm putting you out there.
No, I'm going to let you go.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Huh?
Well, in seminary, this is what I was taught.
Okay,
I am a seminarian, all right? In addition to being a psychologist. This is what I was taught in homiletics. You must end your sermon with charisma.
With the cross.
You gotta give us charismatic fulfillment. And that is the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Go ahead,
now,
Jim.
This is why this works for Black people. We're going to spiritually bypass that the man was assassinated and he was innocent. Going to bypass that. We're going to bypass the gore, the blood, the most heinous. Now, that ain't the only way that Romans the Romans assassinated. They didn't do as much crucifixion as they did other stuff because crucifixion was expensive. So when they crucified and left you up for days until birds and stuff ate your carcass, it was to set you up as a reminder, don't monk with the empire.
That's right. That's right.
So don't monk with the empire. So we spiritually bypass all of that, and all of the crying and identifying that we do, we say we're identifying because he did it for me. Look how they done my Savior. But what works for us, he got up, always works for us, because that's the only form of justice we can get out of the story. And so we were told, whatever you preach, you end it with charismatic charisma. It's Greek, charismatic fulfillment. And this is the way that we were taught homiletics and all of that stuff. And so we can't even give practical application or the laws and precepts that God said keep without taking us to gore, blood, murder, mystery, mayhem. Some.
But Dr. Gardner, she's not lying on that, because I was with some great scholars, and all of us have been. But they would say, Tommy, you got to take it to. You haven't preached until you've gone to the cross. So I got to go to the cross.
That's what they say.
Got to go. I mean, that was. I won't call out the name of those preachers, but they have one. They are tough boys, and they're just not Baptists. They're basically Protestants. I'll go there. I had some close Kojic boys, I had some close Pentecostals, apostolics, and they say, Brown, you got to go to the cross. And I'm saying, why?
Wow. Why?
And the fact, and I would ask why, and they said that's what really is, because they wanted a response from the congregation. And if they didn't go to the cross, the congregation would not give them that emotional orgasm.
Oh no. Lord. All right, we've got a point of correction here with Estelle Douglas. She says assassination and crucifixion are not the same. All right, we'll give you that. We'll give you we'll give you that.
Yeah.
Okay. But assassination is to kill suddenly or secretively, especially a prominent person. Murder that is premeditated and treacherous. I don't know anything more treacherous than crucifixion. I don't know anything that was worked on and premeditated. But point, I'll take your point. If we want to be technical, that's why I posted your comment. Thank you.
Okay. This is cage rattling. Because now you have to examine your own faith, and now you're going to think twice about some of the practices and the rituals that we do, because we serve a bloody God according to the narrative, that he's not satisfied unless there is the death of another, just so that the freedom of more. And we see that first death right there. Go ahead.
Dr. Gardner, I'm going to leave you with something to think about, because I've had to encounter it on a number of occasions, because you're a military man. Well, I mean, you've been in that military experience. But one of the greatest things of heroes, men who would throw their whole physical body on a bomb to save his brother.
Oh, yeah.
You see where I'm coming with you?
Yeah, yes, sir.
I mean, I've experienced, I didn't jump on the bomb, but I've experienced those brothers who have come back from Vietnam that talk about not just a black man, but white men who are in their particular squad that jumped on top of a bomb to save the brethren around that. That is another dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay.
So then we ask us. We're at our time. We're at our time. We do have a question.
Okay.
Somebody said this will this uh 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 they said this was premeditated. All right. But we understand. Okay. Somebody said this was premeditated. Okay. We're not gonna split hairs on crucifixion and assassination. Somebody need to make the point. She made the point. All right, we're not gonna split hairs. But assassination is the deliberate killing of a prominent, important person, often for political or ideological reasons. When we talk about the crucifixion, this now when we deal with the Jesus of faith, then it becomes something else. Then this becomes a sacrifice for humanity's redemption. When you deal with it, the Jesus of history, dealing with the Roman Empire, who is brought on trial for insurrection and treason. Okay? And
Political.
then they say we're going to kill him to stop the movement. The Jesus of history, it's a very, very thin line. All right. But when you do the Jesus, that's why I said I posted the comment because I wanted to. Thank you, Estelle. I posted the comment. When you talk about, hold on, when you talk about the Jesus of faith, then crucifixion is something else. We're not talking about the Jesus of faith that was constructed for us. We're not talking about how we've come to believe that or how this was you don't get none of this from James or any of those writers. You don't get any of this from Thomas. You don't get any of this from Jesus. But the Jesus of faith primarily from some of it from the teachings of Paul, much of it from these councils that met. That Jesus of faith crucifixion then is again. It is a symbol of the Christian faith, a belief in Jesus' sacrifice voluntarily for redemption. But the historical records do not show that. The historical records is this was a deliberate killing of a prominent person, often for political or ideological reasons. When you say insurrection, when you say treason, that's politics. The Roman government. Yeah, now they don't wrote this in so we could hate the Jews. In conjunction with the quote religious aristocracy of the day are
Okay.
responsible for this, a trial, all of it. We bypass all of that for the Jesus of faith. That's where that little difference is. So we're not gonna split hairs. No, you're fine. No,
It's fine.
I meant to post it, Estelle, you're fine. But they're like, oh no, this is okay. No, you fine, all right? Because we want to make those distinctions between the Jesus of faith. You're fine, honey. I meant to post it. Uh 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 the Jesus of faith versus the Jesus of history. And if you do it from this lens, she's absolutely right. If you do it from this lens, it's not so different, except for crucifixion is heinous.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
capital. It was the highest form of capital punishment in their day.
Okay. She
What
said
are
she
we
was
gonna
speaking.
do?
Huh?
I'll make y'all really get mad at me. Now you just get laugh at me. What are we gonna do with Trump
Oh,
and
no.
the new religion in our country?
There is no new religion in our country.
It's just it's just it's just refabricated. It's
What what
rewashed,
what 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 what,
recycled. It's the same thing.
what new religion are you talking about, Dr. Brown?
Well, when I say the new religion, I'm saying we're going back to Christian nationalism driven by a political system
Well,
that's going to
Well,
put us back where we are,
my
where
prin-
we were.
what I said before, earlier on, is that Christianity that has emanated from councils, from meetings with bishops, from all of that is Christian nationalism. That's what it was when Rome officially adopted Christianity as the national religion.
Wow. That
And
part.
that is what has been used to conquer, to indoctrinate, and to create the propaganda, even down to this we believe, that whole apostolic code, all of that. All of that is part of of the nationalism. So it really isn't new. We have bypassed a lot of it to belong to whatever group we belong to. We're spiritually bypassed it. And this is how we have a Jesus of faith, and that's fine. Everything else is of faith. Everything else is of faith. So, okay. But we have been ignorant and bypassing because of propaganda addiction and of conditioning, operant and classical conditioning, to condition the hormones and the body to fear and to do operant conditioning, which is using things in the environment to train behavior by praise and reward or by punishment and negative reinforcement.
Wow.
So there's nothing new under the sun. It's been nationalism ever since Constantine made it, and it was already headed in that way. Constantine made it the official religion of the empire, the nation.
You have been watching the doctors are in. We want to thank everyone tonight for your comments. This is what this is all about. This is what makes this dialogue robust, is when we can have this kind of feedback, this kind of exchange, because it brings the truth to light. We thank Dr. Brown, who has joined us by phone, and your comments are spot on. We're going to continue in this quest because we're going to continue to look at some of the things that we believe, you know, and where they all came from and what was the origin of it and whether there's any life in it, or is it magical thinking. We're going to do the best we can to pull some of these things out, but it appears that each week there's something new that it seems to bubble up from the surface that makes the moment prophetic and makes the moment, it's like the wind blows where it lists, and you hear the sound thereof, can't tell where it's coming from or where it's going. So is everyone that's born in the Spirit. So we do the best we can to follow that
What? Wait a
flow.
minute. So everyone is born of the Spirit?
Oh yeah,
I
born of the
thought you had to be
Spirit.
born of the blood.
Oh no, born of the Spirit.
Born of the Spirit?
Born.
What?
I'm just going by Jesus. Jesus' word said, "Born of the Spirit."
Listen, according to Torah, Hashem does not take human
Human
sacrifice.
sacrifice.
And Jesus, as an Essenic, and it wasn't even a term called Jew back then, it wasn't even a term yet. But Jesus, as an Essenic, were strict Torah observers, and they did not believe in animal sacrifices. You can go in Psalms, you can go in other areas where he said, listen, I didn't require that. What I require is a contrite heart. I require a right spirit. I require justice among my people. We have to ignore all of that because we have to make everything on that one dogma, because we must make the Jesus of faith the sacrificial lamb. And
Wow.
if you do some good studying in Judaism, not even Orthodoxy, in Judaism, you'll find that many of the scriptures that we call messianic prophecies were imposed upon by the religion, not properly exegeted and understood in its historical context. So we're going to look at next week. We've been trying to get to it for 2 weeks. We're going to look at all of this going stuff like this. We're going to look at some of the practices that we have picked up, much of it from evangelicalism, white evangelical Pentecostalism, or charismatic stuff like that. We're going to look at this practice of casting demons out by pleading the blood.
Oh,
And we may even look at the practice of engaging in spiritual warfare during our prayer time by binding and loosing.
all right. Well, we'll see everyone next week. Y'all pray for us. We pray for you as well.